funny enough, it started in this very building, which was then an art gallery at which my wife worked. She wasn't my wife then, but she is now. And one of our first serious conversations after we met in this building was about doing a dinner theatre venue, and that was in 1999 sometime. I can't be precise as to the date. And it was a concept that we talked about and we played with as our relationship grew from start to marriage in 2001. And about a year and a half later, a whole lot of circumstances came together involving the Ellenbogans, and they looking for a new home after the Olympia venue that they were using was withdrawn from them. And this building coming on the market via a deceased estate, if I remember correctly. And the moment we saw that the building was on the market, we knew it was the right place. And we were lucky enough to be able to secure it. And that was in late 2003. We probably started the building exercise in early November 2003. And we performed for the first time on the 12th of March 2004. The building was, I suppose, 80%, 90% finished at that stage. The back sections where the kitchen and scullery and toilets now are still had to be built. We were waiting for plans to be passed, and that came along probably 3 or 4 months later. So it had a long gestation, but it came together in the end.
Now the building itself, many people, you can hear Main Road just outside here. You hear buses and cars and things going past. And it's because it's around about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. But the building itself, what was it?
The building was a Dutch Reformed church. It was built in 1876 by a chap called Oret for the Kalk Bay Dutch Reformed congregation. And it remained a church until 1951. When the Kalk Bay and Simonstown congregations combined and built another church in Fishoek, which all of them went to, and this building was then deconsecrated and became commercial property.
It's, of course, quite a landmark in your face as you drive past, but to visualize it becoming a theatre, what did that feel like?
Clifford, you know, I don't think that it wasn't anything we consciously thought about. We knew more or less what we wanted to do. We saw the building and we knew it would work. It was almost instantaneous. I mean, it wasn't something we thought about for days or weeks. We had looked at other premises in Kalk Bay. We'd found one possibility, but that was really like fitting a square peg into a round hole. And the moment this building became available, we knew that it was the right building, and we knew exactly how we were going to do it. Look, Nick, the Ellenbogans, Nick and Liz and Matt and Luke all played a huge part in that as well.
Well, I did my first one-woman show here called Face It when I just finished at drama school, and it was amazing, and it was a lot of years ago, and it's been a pleasure being able to come back here and play here.
10 years, a decade of theatre in this building. Who was the first?
The first was Nicholas Ellenbogen, plus I think at least two other members of his family, and possibly 3. And a number of other people, Bill Curry, Jeroen Kroonenberg, Juliet Jenkin, Bernadette Gardner, Bruce Little, in a play called Mistakes of an African Knight, that is Knight, which was an adaptation by Nick of School for Scandal, set in Natal.
We're here for the Kalk Bay Theatre celebration, 10 years, here's to 10 more. Lovely.
But that was the first show it ran for, I don't know, probably 3 weeks. Then we did another Theatre for Africa piece called Nguni, which was an amazing piece about people who own and rear cattle. Then we had Alan Committee for the first time. I remember we had a Raiders, and that was pretty much the first 6 months.
Good evening!
ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another thrilling episode of Stuff You.
From there, after the first 6 months, what are the highlights been to now?
How long have I got?
Just one or two.
Yeah,
It's been an extraordinary adventure. We've had some amazing nights here. We've played some weird and wonderful games. We've had some great audience. We've had small, big. We've done long form. We've laughed. We've cried. We've fallen over. We've torn our pants. Yes, it's been amazing.
the first highlight I would have to say is I mentioned the 6 months earlier because it was at that stage that the Ellenbogans and the Coopers parted company. I'm pleased to say we still remain friends. And as I said to you earlier, off camera, Nick is actually performing here tonight. The first highlight was not so much a performance, but it was during a show called How Graham Ware Accidentally Managed to Stay Alive, when we started for the first time to get calls from people looking for slots at Kalk Bay Theatre as opposed to us phoning them. For us it was a hugely significant moment that the acting profession, who quite correctly didn't know who the Coopers were or whether they could be trusted, started to say, this looks okay, let's see if we can go a little.
Evening, Simon.
Hello!
That was certainly a highlight, and the 4 or 5 or 6 people who trusted us in that first 6 months have always remained very much of a special, splendid band of performers for us. Been consisting of Jodie Abrams, James Cairns, Aldo Brinkat, Shirley Kirschman, Graham Ware. They were the people who came here without question, performed here, and they were the people who got us going. After that, jumping around in time now, it's difficult to think chronologically, but obviously London Road, which started its life in Kalk Bay Theatre. A town called Fokalutha from last year was great. Same time next year from last year was...
It was fantastic. In 10 years I've never had a better night than tonight, but I can remember in Kalk Bay.
We've had James Cairns doing Sitting Man and Dirt. We've had Rob van Vuren's Electric Juju. We've had 3 or 4 Allen Committee themed comedy stand-ups which have been amazing. There have been quirky, funny little shows that have done well. Roland Perrault's I Love You, You're Perfect, Not Change, which surprised everybody with how well it did. Peter Dirk Ace, who loves coming to small theatres, came here, and we sold out 4 shows before he got anywhere near this place to start. And then Going Gooding, which I think you saw, which is a beautifully nostalgic look back at broadcasting over the last 45 years. We've had those kind of things. There's a guy called Doc Caldwell who will actually be here tonight. Believe it or not, Doc was 3 or 4 years ahead of me at school, and he was a prefect in my house at St Andrews College. And he has created this sort of cabaret, sort of gentle satirical review. He's done 10 years at Grahamstown. He's a doctor. His nickname at school was Doc, and he became a doctor. But it's true KZN colonial Midlands humour. Comes down here, he does very well. Now, a lot of that stuff I've been talking about is very much nostalgic stuff, and yes, there's an audience in this place.
Tell me about Kalk Bay Theatre.
Kalk Bay Theatre is amazing. It's my second home.
Hey,
It really is.
we love it.
We love it. We live, breathe, and eat the place. We make coffee here too.
But coming back to that intimate theatres, fringe venues and so on. It's as a business, it's considered risky, looking at it from the outside. Just what has been the success?
Yeah, okay, you're right. It is risky, and we're not in this to make a hell of a lot of money. We don't make a hell of a lot of money. I'll tell you that straight. If we break even, we're happy. We do this because we like theatre, and precisely what you said. There are not enough venues in South Africa, certainly in Cape Town. I don't really purport to be an expert in other areas, but certainly in Cape Town there are not enough venues that do the fringe one-hander, two-hander. And I'm not talking, and I don't disparage tribute shows or stand-up comedy, which is something we don't do a lot of, and that's very deliberate. We look for other stuff because there are not enough venues to do that. How we've been able to do it? Well, to start with, we are truly completely independent. We are not beholden to anybody. Helen and I own the business, Helen and I own the building, so financially we're beholden to ourselves. We have to make that work. We are able thus to be flexible in how we deal with performers. And over the years we've used just about every kind of formula, from ticket split, which is probably the most popular at the moment, through to outright rentals, through to all sorts of quirks and bits and pieces which you add on to that. And also we've had both of us have had a very clear vision all the way along what we wanted to do. And we've, yes, we have done stuff. We have done purely commercial theatre, if I could call it that. And again, I don't disparage it. It's just not, what we started out to do. But we do some of it, and it's necessary because A, it makes money, and B, just like good theatre. I mean, straight, serious theatre. There is good commercial theatre and bad commercial theatre. Just like there is good serious theatre and bad serious theatre.
Happy birthday!